Hello everyone, and I'm back. I stepped away from the computer for a little bit, and is this the end? Are we about to do something real stupid? Let's see. With the last of my clothes slipped on, I hastily grabbed the phone off the desk. Luckily, the number for a local taxi company is still in my call history. A gruff, unenthusiastic voice announces the name of the company. While I pace around the room, it takes some effort to slow down my voice and keep it clear over the phone. The chilly night air sweeps against me as I open the dormitory door. But nevertheless, I keep up my brisk speed as I half jog, half run out the school gates. It may not be curfew just yet, but it's precariously close. If there were a guard around, they'd no doubt have some questions for me, but it looks like I've managed to come out just before they arrive, or they're around the corner. My pace picks up as I make my way through the school gardens, their nighttime allure all but lost when I begin to run to the school gate. The lamps of the courtyard, dim as they are, provide just enough illumination to light the way and prevent me from tripping over. The buildings themselves take on a rustic, almost antique-looking edge when I glance at them. Looking back, it seems strange that they once appeared so dark and looming to me. Now they just look to be somewhat anachronistic school buildings, the same as any others, bar their age. Leaving the gates behind me, I pull up to a stop just before the taxi, parked just as Akira's car had been. Its gaudy and its brightly lit sign looks out of a place in the quiet country backdrop. I patiently squeeze myself through the door, giving the driver the address for where the two should hopefully be staying. By the time the taxi pulls up after its trip, at maddeningly casual speed, it's well and truly deep into the night. The house is truly enormous. Its sheer size, much larger than I'd expect, and ominously still. Fearing the worst, I ask the driver to stay just in case my efforts are for naught. A single press on the fancy intercom system outside the gate produces a short electronic melody in the otherwise silent road. It's not long before a somewhat deep, gruff voice can be heard from it. "This is the Hakamichi residence. Please state your name and why you're bothering us this late." I press on despite inwardly wincing at the reasonable annoyance and audible in his voice. It's Hisao Nakai. I was hoping to meet Lily or Akira if they're still here. Surprisingly, I managed to summon quite some energy into my voice. Enough to make the other side of the intercom silent. A few seconds pass, but just before I press the button again and ask what's going on, a light turns on outside the front door. I strain my eyes to try and make out who is coming through, but as he comes past a large parked car with fishing rods sticking out the back, his identity becomes clear. His face is... I did the wrong voice, boys. His face is typically placid and emotionless as he saunters up to the gate. He's still childlike in his mannerisms despite his demeanor. I was hoping I wouldn't have to do this voice again, probably. With the press of a few buttons from behind the fence, the gate slowly opens. "Hisao! Hisao! What are you doing here?" Your voice sounds only worse. I think this is the most emotion I've ever heard from his voice, not that it would be much hard to reach that point. Akira told me that she and Lily would be staying here before they left for their flight. I need to talk to Lily, just one last time. Are they still here? The look on his face says everything. I failed. I was too late. The one time when I actually needed to act quickly and... Actually, it's quite possible. What? What is it? He's taken aback by my fervor, but I can't help it at this point. They left not long ago, only a few minutes before you arrived. In fact, if you go straight to the airport, you may be able to Sal? I dart back towards the waiting taxi, driving what little money is left in my pocket as I go. Thanks, Hideaki. I hope I never have to speak to you again. With that, I take a seat, and in short order, bark out my destination. My chest beats wildly as I tear down the street, my body twisting this way and that to slip between the pedestrians walking back and forth beside me, with the road solidly blocked by taxis and other cars, dropping off passengers and picking up others in time they have to wait. We ended up having to stop almost a block away. But that's in the past now. What matters is reaching Lily. One foot hits the ground, the other quickly following without the slightest thought, and if my legs have taken on a life of their own, and all my mind can do is concentrate on the view ahead of me. Just one glimpse of that long hair, that long yellow hair, that was the same color as wheat, that stretched as far as the eye could see. In the end, I depended on Lily just like Hanako did. Even after we started going out, it still doesn't feel like she ever let herself depend on me. Except for one moment. That one moment we held each other tightly on that bright yellow field. At that time, she just feared losing me just as everyone else did. That's why, just this once, the night air wraps around me, draining the last remnant of warmth out of my body, to the extent that it feels like a midwinter than a midsummer night. My fingers, my hands, my feet, they all feel increasingly cold. The sound of the passing crowds is reduced to no more than a hum, while this sound of shoes hitting pavement echoes loudly, every step surging me towards the person I have to catch. Forced by my chest tightening in response to the cold of the night, I rest an arm over it to try and settle it down. When the airport comes into view, I realize this feeling is one I've felt before. Not now. Of all the times, for this, please not now. I gulp and soldier on, regardless, pushing my body as far as it will go. Sweat pours off of me as I hurtle forward, my shoulder hitting someone else's side and my mind suddenly flooding with emotions and memories. I continue on without an apology. I have to keep moving. If I stop now, I'm not sure I can begin again. And even if I could, it would all be for naught if I'm not in time. I hit another person, then another, offering little resistance to getting bounced about. My feet feel numb, my arms are losing all feeling, my chest forces me to hunch over, awkwardly tightening more. That afternoon in the snow, that time when my life was irreversibly changed, images of Iwanako and that damned letter flash over and over in my mind. The first love I lost thanks to my condition. I can't let that happen again. I don't care what happens to me anymore. I just need to see her one last time. There! The yellow, a sliver of yellow and white, comes into view, distance down the road. Her figure silhouetted by the lights emanating from the airport entrance. Lily! Lily! Lily, stop, please! Lily! Come on, Lily. I know your hearing's far beyond Gah! My view suddenly spins out of control and ends up on the ground, my body haphazardly sprawled after hitting someone and stumbling over. Before I can assess the damage, an unbelievable pain ignites in my body. All my thoughts are blanked as I curl up and frantically clutch at my chest. Hey, are you okay? That was a really bad fall. This pain, I can't. Ah! Any sharp knock could do me in, any overexertion. I thought I could overcome my limits this once. Something's wrong with him. What's the matter? The voices of those gathering around me are gradually replaced by a loud ringing in my ears. By now, I'm unable to move my head. My eyes turn upwards to see the mute moving of their lips. Even as I clutch my chest, I realize I can't feel my fingers anymore, nor my feet. It feels like my entire body is shutting down, starting from my extremities. With one last effort, I turn my head down the road towards the airport entrance that's casting its light over me. Lily is there, behind the crowd. Her head is tilted, but only just slightly. I can feel the vision dimming as I try to yell out, but nothing emerges from my mouth, despite my best efforts. Slowly, but surely, my vision begins to black out. The scene before me. So, this is how it ends, eh? I failed. I was so close, so very close. But, at the last moment, my condition seized my chance at a new life and dragged me back. Now I'm going to die, sprawled out just meters from an airport, with a crowd of babbling people surrounding me with Lily leaving for Scotland, just a little distance ahead. Lee. That last word extinguishes the last of my energy. The world falls into a deep, inescapable blackness as every muscle in my body shuts down. I'm sorry, Lily. I was too late. And with that, we're going to transition. Let's see. What's going on? As I slowly open my eyes, a bright white light assaults my retinas. For moments, I just lay where I am, mindlessly staring ahead, while my scattered thoughts coalesce in my mind, in my slowly waking mind. Slowly but surely, the white begins to come into focus as a bare expanse begins to be drawn across my field of vision. It's only when the light fixture comes into view that my mind clicks that this is the ceiling above me. Slowly levering myself up, I silently absorb through all my senses the details of the room I'm in. The smell and taste of strong bleach hang in the air, lending the impression of a place just slightly too clean to be natural. That sounds like a hospital to me. Inoffensive, pale, peach colored walls, all perfectly painted without a crack, a stain, or imperfection. A single framed painting hangs on the wall with perfectly straightened like the walls. It's as boring and inoffensive as can be. A watercolor. Wow. My attention's grabbed by the translucent curtain waving across my vision, my eyes following it to the open window it covers. When I move my right arm to try to lift myself up and look through it, I feel the catheter dig in uncomfortably. It's only now, too, that I notice the cannula tubes winding around my cheeks and into my nose. After some fidgeting, I settle for just looking around the corner of the window. Beyond the thick leaves and several large trees, I can see a greenery below. Backing out onto a field, a customary island of green on the outskirts of the city. Judging by the sun outside, it's noon, of which day, I'm not sure. So I'm in a hospital again. I let out a long, tired breath. As I try to collect my scattered thoughts, my mind seemingly cast in a dozen directions all at once with as many emotions running through me. After slowly lying back down, I decide to start at the beginning. Why I'm here. I cast my mind back, but I can't work out a smooth recollection of what happened. The events of last night, or whichever night it was, come back more as a series of snapshots than any cohesive memory. Lying on my bed, looking at the origami bird, talking to Hideaki outside the Hakamichi residence, running down the street, bumping into tons of pedestrians, slamming them into my chest, really just throwing heart first, falling, looking at at the searingly bright airport entrance, seeing Lily's back as I lay on the ground. The silence of the private room feels suddenly overwhelming. So that's it. I had my chance to correct my mistake, and I blew it. Whether I was at fault for neglecting my medication, or disregarding to pace myself, or my body was just giving out too soon, it doesn't matter now. All that matters is that once again I'm alone. The pastel blue pillow yields with little resistance as I let myself fall back onto the bed. Its starchy case, along with the starchy sheets, providing little comfort. Compared to the darkness of last night's events, the bright light of the room around me is striking. All it does, though, is emphasize how otherworldly places like this are. Arrhythmia. A strange word, a foreign, alien one. One that you don't want to be in the same room with. A rare condition. It causes the heart to act erratically and occasionally beat too fast. It can be fatal. It was a miracle that you were able to go on so long without anything happening, they said. And then it did. My condition had taken everything away from me. My old school was of no importance anymore. My home was reduced to a faraway place. Both my friends and my first love simply stopped visiting after a length of time. I became cynical and embittered, distant and subdued. In my defense, no person could avoid that after such a thing happening to them, but nonetheless, I left the hospital as a very differently changed person. Things changed. I made new friends in Hanako, Shizune, Misha. I found a new sense of home in my dormitory. Also, fuck Ray and, I can't remember, the girl I gave the Cali voice. It doesn't matter. Emmy, that's it. You two girls are worthless. Because, you don't get mentioned. I found a new sense of my home in my dormitory, a new interest in science and the world around me, and I found a direction to my life that I'd never felt before. I also discovered other things. A sense of isolation in Yamaku and its surrounds was not entirely unwelcome. The quiet, giving a place of peace of mind I might not have found elsewhere, but it gave the area a feeling of being pushed out of the way, being kept out of sight. People in the streets would sometimes glance awkwardly or quickly turn their heads as soon as they realized they were staring. Even if my condition wasn't visible, my uniform was. Even if it weren't, I was still different. I took 17 pills a day, morning, midday, and night. My scar, though hidden behind my clothing, was still a permanent mark of my condition. And most of all, there was a very real possibility of death. A bad fall. An absent-minded hard hit on the back. A simple sprint taken too far. Anything could have set my heart off, and several times I teetered on the edge of the abyss, even with all the care I took of myself. But that was fine. I could have lived with that. Because there's one final thing I found, or rather, refound, after entering Yamaku, which was once again snatched away before my eyes. It's only now that I realize just how delicate my newfound sense of happiness was. Everything depended on her. The linchpin of my life, since I first entered Yamaku as a sullen, confused, and aimless transfer student. Lily Satow was the one person I could depend upon above all others, and who reciprocated the love that I felt for her. But I failed her, and only realized it all too late. I thought that I could just set my life up and continue that way forever, but the real world doesn't work like that. I finally realized the meaning of those words, only to be struck down as I confronted my failure to do so in time. The surroundings I'm in now are all too familiar. It's as if Yamaku was a dream, and I'm still recovering from my first major heart attack. Maybe that's why I feel so tired. It feels like almost as if I've lived the entire last few months of my life in the empty space of minutes. The weight of my eyelids closes, my physical and mental exhaustion letting me offer no resistance. Unintelligible mumbling from ahead of the bed stirs me out of my sleep. With my eyes still closed, I can focus and make out someone, presumably a nurse, bidding farewell to a doctor. As I open my eyes, I notice the door closing in my peripheral vision. The doctor stands reading off some notes off a clipboard, held in his hand, carefully looking over the pages. After consulting his obviously very important documents, he looks up and notices my gaze. But it's now that I notice something quite odd about his expression and general disposition, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
Oh, I see you're awake, Mr. Nakai.
His quick glance to my bed and to verify my name shows that his documents obviously didn't have it written on them.
I must admit, this is a bit unfortunate. Your parents visited just earlier, while you were asleep. I could notify them you're awake now if you like.
Thanks, that'd be good. I give a somewhat dazed reply, most likely the one he'd expect, before really thinking about what I'm saying.
Not a problem. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, I'll be happy to answer them. That is, unless you'd prefer a place to rest. The anesthetic's still going to be affecting you a bit, I'm afraid.
The anesthetic. Of course. That'd be why I feel so strange the first time I woke up. I slowly shake my head, not wanting to dislodge any pipes or cause myself any more discomfort than necessary. The doctor politely puts down his clipboard in response. I guess my main question is, what exactly happened?
To put it simply, you've had another heart attack. While not as severe as your first, you were lucky it occurred so close to a hospital.
Do we put our hospitals near airports in America? I don't know.
After being stabilized, you were taken to the operating room. What followed was a keyhole surgery in order to insert a temporary pacemaker. All in all, the accident happened 2 days ago, with emergency treatment being carried out very soon afterwards. Since then, we've kept you under close observation while you were asleep.
Will I be alright? Are there any lasting problems? Other than the ones that, already exist?
Compared to the procedure carried out for your first heart attack, this was relatively minor. While you have to undergo surgery for once more in a few days' time to remove the pacemaker, assuming there are no complications, there should be no lasting implications.
He continues talking, the subject shifting to a repetition of facts about arrhythmia and my medications that I already know for the most part. I start to nod in feign interest while my mind drifts. I begin to think about how perfectly hung the inoffensive painting on the wall behind his shoulder is, and how neat and sterile the surroundings are, including the doctor himself.
If my mumbling bores you, you are quite welcome to say so, Mr. Nakai. Lord knows I lose track of myself sometimes.
He gives a sort of chuckle at his self-deprecating joke, as I grimace awkwardly, having been rather badly caught out. The doctor's sounds different from that of the nurse at Yamaku, though, come to think of it, as I ponder why. He doesn't have that creepy, super weird voice. I realize why the man in front of me feels just that little bit off. His smile is neat and sterile. He delivers his joke perfectly with a customary inoffensive chuckle. It's like, rather than talking to the man whose name is neatly printed on a name tag pinned to his lab coat, I'm merely interacting with an actor reading off a pre-rehearsed script, every action having been choreographed beforehand. I suppose he has to be this way, though, being a doctor. He has to keep his neat and sterile smile while chatting to the girl with cancer slowly spreading through her entire body. When reassuring the woman who will surely die from childbirth, and with every other terminally and critically ill patient. That little bit of distance, that little bit of aloofness, makes me wonder if I've been too harsh. Especially considering it's a disposition far from being adopted only by people in his profession. After all, the one I loved kept that same distance from others. Herself. Looking up to the doctor again, I realize I've been in thought with my head bowed for some time.
I understand you must still be tired. You've been through a lot, and as I mentioned before, the anesthetic would still be affecting you. If you don't mind, I'll let you get some rest, and tell your parents you've woken up for you.
I think that would be good. Thank you. He gives a curt nod before picking up his clipboard and making his way to the large white door in the corner of the room before closing it with a large thud. In the end, I'm alone again. Lily's gone, Akira's gone. Hanako would be traveling, and even my parents have already left the hospital. 4 pale peach walls, 1 white ceiling, and a single open window to look towards the world outside. It's hard to think of the future when the past is crowded around you, claustrophobic in its neat, sterile, starchy, bleach-smelling crib. Lost for what to do or focus on, I content myself with sleeping the time away as if this were just another dream like Yamaku had been. White. A sterile, clean white. For a sterile, clean room. My eyes open, and I simply stare at the ceiling for some time. It's about as interesting as the television would be. Mounted in its metal rack hanging off the ceiling ahead of the bed. Indeed, the television. I saw its entire use during the time my parents were here. Left on quietly as they waited for me to wake. It was about as banal as it had been the first time I'd ended up in the hospital. Earlier today, an attending nurse had offered to turn off the EKG speakers. I refused simply because the sound is so entirely normal to me now. It's almost comforting in a way. The metronome-like regularity gives at least some feeling that time is moving, even in a place such as this. After some time of listening to its beeping, while I fully awaken, though, I realize there's another sound in the room. Concentrating all my efforts on listening, a task made rather easy by the lack of distractions, a tiny, familiar melody can be heard. Light and quiet. The music sounds almost as fragile, as if it's dwarfed by the EKG's pulses. Tilting my head just slightly to the side in an effort to see the source of the melody without dislodging any of the sensors and pipes stuck onto me, I notice a little wooden box sitting on the nightstand next to the bed. My mouth opens just slightly while I silently watch the tiny yellow metal drum slowly rotate inside, the little bumps on its surface gradually moving in and out of sight. This music box, it's the one I gave. The creaking of the door breaks me out of my reverie, my head and heart remaining still as my eyes turn to see who comes through. Long tan skirt, peach off the shoulder sweater, pale, almost porcelain skin, blue clouded eyes, and long yellow hair. All I can do is stare as Lily slowly walks into the room, her fingers lightly running over the wall for orientation, and my mind comes shuddering to a halt. Lily? She stops mid-stride, her entire body tensing. Hisao? Was that you? Her voice is quiet and pensive, echoing her expression. I thought you were... Lily takes one tentative step forward, then another, as if she were holding herself back. Her control over her composure is for naught, though. And she finally rushes over to the... where I lay as the last of her resistance falls. I'm slightly taken back when she grabs hold of me, hunching over as tears begin to fall from her cheeks. Since only minutes ago, I thought she was on the other side of the world. After a moment of hesitation, I rest my right hand on her soft shoulder. Hisao. Lily's body trembles as her tears blot the dark blue sheets, her emotions flooding through her carefully maintained exterior. With her face now closer and made easier to see, her pale skin being lit by the sunlight from the window, I notice her cheeks being redder than they should. It's okay, Lily. I'm okay. You don't need to. She rights herself quickly, her crying forcefully stifled, with both sadness and stubbornness remaining in her moistened eyes. Her prideful nature, always having been something to contend with, takes me off guard. Stop telling me not to worry about you, Hisao. Just this once. Let me cry. I'm caught speechless. She waits for a response, but her composure breaks again. After a handful of seconds, I swallow hard to try and settle my own emotions. While she weeps onto my bed, a strange mixture of relief and depression welling up. Lily's here. She's really here. If I couldn't feel her skin under my hand, I'd hardly believe my own eyes. My efforts weren't for nothing. My body's attempt to take everything away from me that was important to me once again has been foiled. But now, I don't feel as happy about it as I thought I would. Seeing her here, crying like this over me, this is one thing I'd wanted to avoid since coming to love her. No, even since leaving the hospital. I'm sorry, Lily. It's my fault I'm here. I shouldn't have tried to push myself so far. Give myself a self-deprecating snort. I don't know. I don't snort. After months of keeping this to myself so nobody would worry over me, I went and did something like this. I guess I'm pretty dumb. With a couple of sniffs and a long breath, Lily manages to pull herself together and calm down a little. Despite her red cheeks, moist eyes, and the lines of tears still visible, she delicately wears that weak smile she seemed to give so often. You needn't blame yourself. I heard later that it happened as you were running down the road after me, right? Still... She wipes her eyes with the back of her hand, returning more to her old self as the rush of emotions wear off. Why did you run after me, Hisao? I moved to respond, but noticed her face tightening. Even after I'd said goodbye, and I'd left Yamaku Academy. She takes a moment to steady herself, her emotions almost bubbling up once again. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry. Sorry? For the times I wasn't there when you needed me. Until now, I thought you were just being there. I thought just being there would be enough. I only needed you by my side to make any day feel better. Even if my body may be like this, I want to help you, Lily. To be there when you need someone. But you always were there, Hisao. Why did you want to go to Scotland, Lily? Why? I told you before. Because Akira was going, and because of my family's summons to their home. Why didn't you say that you wanted to go? I'm not stubborn often, but this is one thing I think I need to be. I want you to stay here, Lily. I want you to stay here, where everyone you know lives, and where all your dreams and ambitions were made. If you choose to stay, I'll never leave your side. I won't let you lose another person. When I had my heart attack, I was snatched away from everyone and everywhere I knew. You showed me a future, a new life. After I came to Yamaku, I'd lost my past, but you showed me a future. It's true that I haven't always been there for you. I'm unreliable sometimes. I lied, and I thought I'd come to understand you when I hadn't even understood myself. Be that as it may, I want to give you a future as well. I want to be there for you, to share with both your burdens and your happiness like I promised back in Hokkaido. I want you to trust me. I know I had my problems putting my trust in you after losing so many people I'd known after my heart attack. But that's how that being unable to trust others can feel awful. That's why I can't watch you just throw everything away like this. I never want you to go through what I did. I would do anything to stop that. You can be quite steadfast when you want to be, can't you? As I said, it isn't often. My weak smile drops, though as the IV in my arm digs in a little. It's a harsh reminder of my tether to my condition. Lily's face tenses as I let out a small gasp of pain, immediately wishing I'd stifled it better. All I can do is sigh in defeat. I tried to not let anyone worry over me for the entire time since I left the hospital, but I can't stop the one person I love the most from crying over me. Even if I might finally be able to put my feelings into words, I feel pretty useless with a body like this. Every time I tried to reach towards something, it was just snatched away, even now. Things only turned out for the better due to luck. I guess that's something else I should apologize for. All I can ever do is make you worry. Even now, there's very little chance I'll live anywhere near a full life. The feeling of Lily's warm, soft hand moving over my left cheek makes me lift my head up, her gentle and warm as she touches me. I think that is something very natural for you to say. You were always so sincere and self-conscious. You were always reserved and mild-mannered, and patient to a fault with Hanako, yet curious about everything and everyone. When I said I missed you while I was with my family, I wasn't lying or exaggerating. The thought of you was never far from my mind, and helped me through that time. That's why I was so confused about what to do when my family summoned me. Even after I thought I had made my decision, you tried your hardest to challenge me about it. I didn't confess to you out of pity or believing you were somehow different from what you are. I confessed because I never want to lose you. And want you to always be a part of my life, no matter what might change. You're a very beautiful person, Hisao. Your heart changes none of that, so please don't apologize for yourself anymore. For a long time, silence reigns in the room. I'm not really sure what this newly born feeling inside of me is, but it pales into insignificance as I wordlessly gaze at Lily's smiling face, warm and gentle, as it has always been. It's only as her thumb crosses my cheek, wiping away a single drop of moisture, that I realize this is all I've ever wanted. For what feels like the first time, I give an earnest, wide smile as Lily feels it against my palm and she returns the gesture. More time before either of us says a word. Neither of us needing speech to communicate our feelings to each other. I know I can't promise you that I'll always be around or that we'll be together forever. With some level of difficulty, I lift my hand, place it on her shoulder. But I think I can at least take you to next year's Tanabata festival to make up for making you miss this year's. Lily's expression is one of surprise, though I can't say I blame her. You remembered that? I've got a pretty good memory. Sometimes. She raises her head and takes her hand from her cheek, giving a small, amused giggle. I smile absent-mindedly at how earnest it is, almost girlish in its lightness. Still smiling warmly, she collects herself and stands upright with a hand resting on my chest. It feels like I'm seeing her for the first time, the sun from the window glowing behind her just as it did when I first walked into that room where she was drinking tea. Very well then. Shall we make a promise between both of us to go to next year's Tanabata together? Even if she can't see me doing so, I nod approvingly. I promise. I promise. And that, I believe, concludes the rest of Katawa Shoujo. That was a journey. This has been my longest Let's Play. I just want to tell you guys, thanks for all the support in the series. I know visual novels aren't everyone's thing because they're basically just listening to me talk. And throwing in a little bit of commentary. They're not very dynamic games. Even the best of them have only so much they can do. And I would say that the dynamism of, actual play is, a lot deeper. But I'm glad we had this journey. I wish it hadn't taken as long as it had, but it was worth it. And like I said, the pattern of arrhythmia being a metaphor for the heart and love is a very true one. I think we've got an epilogue, and I'll finish that up before I give some more thoughts. Akira, Lily, and I silently sit in the grassy embankment high above the local town, the breeze gently blowing through the cloudless sky. We may be just a few minutes' walk from town or on a hill just outside its limits, but the view is entirely unexpected. Lily sits beside me, her eyes closed as the gentle breeze flows through her hair. This is a nice area. Yeah, I never knew a place like this was anywhere near Yamaku. And I had to be the one to find it, of course. Akira's grin is genuine, but her tone is slightly different from her usual carefree nature. It's good that you're out of the hospital, though, Isao. Nobody's more glad than I am. I can't stand hospitals. So you two going back to school tomorrow? Yup. I can't do two people at once, I'm sorry. And that's what that is kind of calling for. Akira chuckles in amusement before looking back to the town below. The trees between the buildings swaying in the wind. Pity we couldn't go further up north for the summer holidays, or get to Tanabata. I wouldn't worry, there's always next time. You'll be graduating from before summer vacation, won't you? Yeah, there'll still be college after that, mind. Going to the same one? Likely. We both have high enough scores to meet the entry requirements. You sound so sure. Don't worry, you're better than I in most subjects. I guess we'll work it out in due time. That's just the way. Just enjoy yourselves, Yamaku, while you're there. Well, he gives a sad sigh at the distinction Akira and made between Akira and the two of us. Do you really need to go back to Scotland? Yeah. The folks are already out for my blood as it is. You mean you weren't supposed to stay this long? She gives a trademark wide grin. Setting my boyfriend up with a passport took some time. You're taking him with you? Just for a while at first. He's a surprisingly worldly guy, so I think he'll do just fine. Akira gives an assumed snort. If our father had his way, I'd have gone a long while ago. I just couldn't pass up an excuse, though, to stay with my favorite little sister a little longer, though. She leans right and gives Lily a tight, playful hug, cheering her up considerably. It's nice to be working with you one last time, though. For what it's worth, I'm in the same boat. Thanks to you, too. I'll try and come back sometime. Don't worry. It's a shame that the business keeps you so busy. The place won't run itself, I'm afraid, and I think it's going to just be the same over there. Considering that, I'd better get going. Have fun over there, Akira. Will do. With a slight grunt, she lifts herself with her hands and stands up, dusting herself off as she does so. Well, I'd better be off. The plane won't wait for me, after all. She has a certain unusual wistfulness in the tone of her voice, her eyes firmly planted on her sister. I'll be okay, Akira. Yeah, I know. Come now. It isn't that bad. You'll be able to see us again soon. It is strange to have Lily reassuring a doubting Akira for once. She really has changed. Goodbye, Akira. Bye. For a second, the dark-clad figure looks down at the both of us, smiling widely, perhaps even more widely than I've ever seen her do before. She lets out a long, wavering breath to steady herself before leaving, but eventually she slips her hand in the pocket and turns on her heel. And with that, she walks away. One hand held in the air as far as she goes. See you later, you two. A jazz tune with no beat, melody, or direction to the very end. After a few moments of sitting silently, Lily and I pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off. Turning towards her with a broad smile, I hold out my hand. Shall we be off then? She takes my hand in hers with a gentle nod and a smile as beautiful and warm as ever. Indeed we shall, Hisao. As we set off towards the school, that wonderful smile engraves itself onto my memory. That wonderful smile that we both share. Our pasts scattered, and at times overshadowed by sadness. But they're also an irrevocable part of our lives and personalities. Even if I could change a single thing, I wouldn't, because my past was what led me here. That's why even with all that's happened to us before, and all that we may well befall us together, we'll keep walking forwards towards the future, our future. And that's it. And I think we got another picture. I think you can ultimately probably collect all those pictures. Let's see here. Is there extras? Let's not go into jukebox. Or let's not go into gallery, rather. We might see something bad. We might see something naughty. But yeah. That was that was an experience. Nothing like the bitter taste of heartbreak. Also, nothing like the wonderful, sweet satisfaction that can be brought to you by finding someone you truly love. I know I started this game in February, and sickness kind of delayed some of this later half of the game, as well as, other responsibilities I have to get to that are more important than Let's Plays. I know, it's hard to believe, but they do exist. What else? Is there anything else I have to say? I think I do have one last thing to say, though. I have two things, at least. The next game, of course, will probably be me playing a little bit more Shrouded Isle. It's, I kind of want to play that game a little bit more. But I see its end coming soon as well. And then after that, we've got a couple more games. I do kind of want to play a game that's a little bit more play heavy than one that is, so script heavy, because I've got a few that are pretty script heavy that I'm looking forward to. And I am trying to plan a few things in advance. Let's just say that, I hope to get through the Let's Plays that I've planned for the next few in a little while. But this concludes Katawa Shoujo. There are 5 other girls that you can romance. And there's also all the little dead ends and poor decisions you can make. Like, what if we hadn't, been able to catch up with Lily and, alert her? Is that a possible ending? Probably. I don't know. But the game is free, and I've been posting it in most of my, posting the link for it in most of my episodes. So if you want to check this game out, please do. Remember, you're not defined by your illnesses like Hisao has tried to show you, and that you can live a normal life, regardless of physical or mental limitations that may happen and be placed upon you. And without any further ado, guys, stay safe, have fun, and try to find your own happy ending. One of those things is more important than the others. Until next time, in another game, bye.